This clip is very interesting to me. It's kind of like a debate. Joe and Lex are very much yin and yang on this topic of humanity and where it's all going and what's important as a person and what will become unimportant as people. And I just think it's really cool to listen to, but also I disagree with Joe quite a bit in terms of I'm not sure who he's speaking for. And it goes back to that same question that Dr. Peterson was asking and that I've asked so many times, like what exactly are you talking about? Like, if you say that we are on the way somewhere, who's we? And when did I get inside this vehicle to go there with you? At what point did I agree? But I'll just play the clip. Coach Colin, coolest high performance coach in the world. And if you want the absolute best takes on the podcast and videos you love, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it.
There's exactly. So some of the magic is gone of human to human interaction.
Right, but the magic is only magic to us because we're dumb.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you call it dumb.
Yeah, I call it currently dumb.
Limited cognitive capabilities that enable the appreciation of the human condition. Yeah.
Well, I am a firm believer that there's beauty in the world, and I'm a firm believer in the beauty being in the eye of the beholder, and that human beings that find more beauty in things are inherently more fascinating and interesting and attractive.
Yeah.
But if you looked at it as a calculation, like, what's it doing? It's moving into the next stage of existence. Do you think that whatever we used to be, Australopithecus, do you think that they would make fun of the people with shoes on? Look at these losers with fucking shoes on. Think you're smart. Think you're smart with your clothes, living in a house. Like, they probably long for the good old days, and they're running from jaguars. They probably long for the good old days when they didn't know shit. And now all of a sudden they're using agriculture and trying to figure out when the storms are coming. Like, so much work. So much better when we just got eaten by lions. So much better when we're just running around, sleeping on the ground. Most people don't survive. You have to fuck as much as possible because you got to make kids because they're all going to get eaten.
Yeah, but again, stories like Brave New World paint an end point to this trajectory that's not...
It's not good.
There could be an optimal place where you stop, right? It's like, of course, it's tempting to say now we're in the optimal place, but it's not obvious to me. For example, there's many brilliant people that are working to extend life, right?
Yeah.
Yes, extending the quality of life, improving the quality of life is a really worthy pursuit. It's an obvious pursuit, and it should be, it's fascinating, it's a beautiful one we should invest in, but do you want to live forever? To me, a lot of people say, like, yes, you should be able to choose when you die, but to me, it's not obvious that living forever is going to maximize happiness. There could be death, the fear of death, the finiteness of things, the finiteness of experience that are pleasurable is part of the human condition. It's not obvious to me if you remove that's not going to significantly decrease the amount of happiness.
Well, it will decrease the amount of happiness. It's like, if you ever played a video game on God mode.
Yeah, exactly.
It's boring as fuck.
Yeah.
Just running around shooting everything because there's no consequence.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no consequence. We desire consequence. What we're doing is dealing with these instincts, this coding, behavior patterns of civilization and of organisms that have, been evolving and have been working their way out to get to the most efficient and best method possible for fucking millions of years. What we're going to do is continue that process. And I think we should just enjoy what we enjoy right now. We should be very appreciative of the fact that we haven't made that transition yet. And I think we're probably the last of the Mohicans. We're probably the last of the regular people. And I don't think we're going to be able to look back 100 years or 1,000 years from now and say that this was better if they solve all the problems that wreak havoc on people's lives emotionally and psychologically and in terms of like war and famine and disease and all the problems we have with poverty and slavery and resources of the earth being exploited by a select few and damaging the environment in the process. Like all these things that we know are absolutely wrong about what human life is capable of, even today in 2023. If we could eliminate all of that, we would, and we will. I think that's what we're going to be. We're going to be some new thing. And
But
it might not be as beautiful.
well, maybe not on Earth. The interesting thing about expanding out to other planets, that life will be extremely harsh on those planets. So that explorer experience where resources are highly constrained, extremely challenging, so building up a civilization on other planets, that might have the same kind of romanticized humanness that we're talking about now. Here on Earth, everybody would be just like in a pool of pleasure, just connected to a VR where just they're constantly just dopamine everywhere.
Remember when The Matrix first came out and you're like, that's stupid?
Yeah. When was that? 90s?
I think it was 90s. 99? You think? Somewhere? Yeah, in that range.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, so silly. That could never happen. Now you look at it and you're like, oh, that could 100% happen. Like how many thousands of years from now before it has to be like that? But if you're giving people the option to live a completely free life where you're the hero, you're the bad motherfucker, you're riding a motorcycle with your shirt open and you get all the girls and you're fucking shooting guns at the sky and the UFOs come and they take you on a trip and every day is wild and magical and you're running from tigers and you barely get away. And you're like, you're going to do it. Yeah. You're going to do it the same.
See, that's the thing that I think he forgets about The Matrix, that everybody wasn't like that and they were living life the way we are right now, and it sucked. Actually, that was The Matrix, if you don't remember. It wasn't fun for everybody at all. But even more so than that, like when I hear these views, and Joe often goes into these rants about like how we're just going to do all this, but it's like, I'm not doing it. I'm not hooking up to anything. I think there's a class of people who are not going to go into that transhumanism that is talked about so much, because that's what he's talking about here. He's talking about integrating with machines. There's a lot of people that aren't going to want to do that. And they're going to be like, oh, well, you're not going to be able to keep up. And it's like, well, okay, I don't really want to. I want to live on a farm. I want to just, raise cattle and all sorts of animals. And I want to just slaughter them and eat them and just live a simple life and have my kids there and homeschool them. Like, that's what I want. Like, so what then? And honestly, because this is one, podcaster talking about this, and yes, there's many scientists and people and engineers working on all this stuff. And there's a lot of people who are very interested in getting in there. And there's some people who are going to dive in head first. But I think there's a huge population of people, way bigger than anybody wants to talk about, because then you have to talk about, why are you doing this if there's so many of us against it, that aren't going to want to do this at all. They're not going to integrate. They don't want to hook up the phone to their wrist. They don't want a chip. They don't want a little drill hole in their head where they can insert the super brain. They don't want any of that stuff. They just want to be straight up people. That's it. And they just want to eat well, and they want to just raise their kids, and they just want to be in green pastures, and they just want to be left alone. There's a lot of those people. And I think there would be even more if you started seeing the rise, which we are slowly. When you start seeing the rise of all this stuff, of all these insertions and upgrades and this and that, there's going to be people who are just going to be like, I'm not interested in that. I'm just not. I'm going to go to this country that's not very populated. I'm going to live here, and this is my piece of land, and I just want to stay here. It's always so weird when people, and obviously it's usually podcasters, and obviously they're just talking. I mean, I'm just talking right now, but I don't want anybody to sign me up for any rides. I'm not interested in being signed up for any ride where I have to, oh, you're going to do it. You're going to do it. No, I'm not. And I'm not being stubborn, and I'm not being the Epithecus. I'm not being a monkey about this. I'm being a person. I have certain values, and I want to live with those values, and I don't feel like there's a lot of things even today. Like, I have some very conservative values. There's a lot of things today that I'm not going to get into. I don't mean I'm not going to talk about. Like, I'm not integrating into certain things that everybody else is. That's just the way it is. I don't know. And when it came to, working a regular job, 9 to 5, I didn't integrate into that either. And when it went to going to school and going to college and university and all that stuff, I didn't integrate into that either. Like, there's some people who just don't want to ride that regular ride that everybody gets into. They don't want to go on that path. They want to take the path that's less traveled. They want to take the path that has to do with, being human focused, being people focused, putting people and their well-being above technology and improvement of things, efficiency of things. I don't know. I just always think of that, especially when he goes into these rants. It's like, I'm not going to do that stuff. And then maybe I'm talking out of my ass. Maybe all of a sudden they'll be like, all right, the upgrade's here and we tested it on 1 million people and, only 3 of them died. It's more safe than getting on a plane. And then all of a sudden I'm like, all right, maybe, but I don't think so. Not right now. I don't know. But how do you feel about it? I know there's some people who are on board. And there's some people that aren't. Where do you stand on that whole thing? Do you want to integrate into the machine world just straight up? Just, live forever, transfer consciousness from skin to skin, just keep on living forever, travel to other planets, not need to have food. Sometimes, you glitch here and there, but it always gets updated and always gets fixed. Is that the side that you want to get on? Or are you one of those people that's like, I wish I could live in a place where I was eating, I was living off the land and yeah, I had a house and it's warm and everything like that. And maybe even some internet too, but I don't want to take it so far to where all of this stuff is implanted in me and blah, blah, blah. Which side are you on? And a big reason I'm not with all of that, because the question comes again, who owns it? Who owns that? You think I'm putting some phone company's chip inside of me? What if I miss the bill? What happens? What if ChatGPT is something you can install? What if Neuralink, all of a sudden you have to pay a monthly bill and you don't pay, and then all of a sudden your brain downgrades? You're in the middle of teaching a conference in front of 1,000 people and your brain goes, and you haven't used your regular brain in years, and that it's atrophied so much and you can barely even talk now. I make movies sometimes when I talk. I'm just making movies. I'm just writing scripts here, okay? But what happens if that happens? I don't know. I don't know what kind of world this is that people feel is being created or people are so gung-ho on stepping into. I don't know. I'm not into it. But that's just me. All right, I'm out.